And welcome in, viewers of the Xavier SportsKnight Podcast, Episode 3. I have been joined by one of my co hosts, Leo Leggett, is back today. No Josh Woolever, but
Less is missed.
Leo back.
Yeah,
Good to have Leo back today, and how you doing?
pretty good, Cuggy. First time we've seen such a heavy downpour in a while. I mean, to be honest, I think the New York Metro is absolutely disgusting when it
Yes,
rains.
yes, it is.
So it was a bit unpleasant getting back. Nice thing to change it up for a little bit. You know, usually it's just absolutely freezing when I'm getting home, but overall, pretty good day. How about you, Cuggy?
Good, doing well. I'm excited to kind of recap a wild week of sports,
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
some upcoming
absolutely.
things. I was at the Turkey Bowl, so that was a lot of
Oh,
fun.
really?
We'll have that recap for you
How
guys
close were you
briefly, and
to the game? Like, to the field?
Uh, I don't know. I was with the student section, so that was fun. We were
Nice.
quite envious of the Fordham Prep student section, so it was a good experience.
Yeah.
I'll try to go back again next year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
We'll definitely touch on
uh,
that.
yeah, we will quickly recap the NFL Thanksgiving games. How poorly I predicted those games. I think it was 0 for 4 when it was all said and done. I predicted those on
Yeah.
the last episode. Me and Leo have some NBA coverage for you guys. We'll do a little bit of NHL, and then kind of an interesting new segment that we haven't introduced at all to you guys. The World Cup coming around next summer. We will give you guys a quick rundown of the pots and how that works, and Leo will provide some insight
The
as far
group
as
stage draw
teams
just
looking out for.
yeah, thanks, Cuggy.
Yeah,
The group stage draw
that's
is this
happening
Friday.
Friday. Yeah,
So,
December 5th.
yeah, we have a lot to say about that. Obviously, it's
Yeah,
in a while, but this is like by far the biggest sports event of all
it is.
time. Um,
It is.
so
48 teams.
yeah, jeez. It's like a lot more than round they're introducing the round of 32. Whatever. We'll get into it later. Um
Yep.
for now, what should we start with, Cuggy?
All right, starting kind of, I think the big topic of the day for Xavier Sports, the Turkey Bowl. The Xavier Knights were able to pull out an absolutely incredible, drama-filled win, 22-21, over the Fordham Prep Rams on a last-second field goal. It was a really exciting game. Certainly one of the greatest Turkey Bowl games I'd say ever. I mean, that's not a bold statement. That game was back and forth the entirety of the time. The
Yeah.
atmosphere was electric. You could really see both sides wanted to win. And just congratulations to Dom DeFalco, that entire coaching staff. They worked so hard all year to get the job done. They obviously win the championship, New York City championship, and now they come away with the win they really wanted. You know, the win that's kind of circled on your calendar at the beginning of the year. And you say to yourself, well, all of these games matter, but the Turkey Bowl is really what's ultimately on our mind. That's ultimately what we want to win. And Xavier able
Yeah.
to get the job done, and very proud. Good
Absolutely.
job for those guys.
And some
And
of these guys on both ends of the field, I mean, on the Fordham side and on the Xavier side, these are guys that have been spiritually connected to their respective programs. And this is like in large part their last games.
that's right.
It's the final game, the final showdown, so to speak. So it represents something much more than a tradition, but it's like a parting from what they've been
That's right.
connected to for so long. So really emotional. That walk off field goal must have been heartbreaking for the Fordham side. But for us, electric, electric. Um,
Yes.
so Cuggy, you were there. Why don't we
Yep.
start with just some quick overview of how the game went? How the tides changed through every phase of the
Yeah.
game. Just walk us
Yeah,
through
I
it.
mean, you could really, as you said, Leo, as you kind of alluded to, both teams left it all out there. It was a wonderful game. Is really what this sport is all about, what football is all about. But as you said, Leo, kind of going into a recap here, Xavier took a quick lead in this one. They were up 12-0, I believe, but they kind of took their foot off the gas, so to speak. But Fordham Prep came back and they battled in this one, and it was a defensive slugfest. You really didn't see either offense start to pick it up until that fourth quarter, right? I believe it was 12-7 going into that fourth quarter, and that's when Fordham were able to really get their run and pass game going, and they ultimately took the lead, and they were up, I believe, by two going into that final possession. They were up 21 to 19, and you could really see that they had all the momentum. They had the fans on their side, the home field advantage. Xavier were a little bit rattled, but that's when they really started to turn things on a little bit. They started to throw the ball. They were running efficiently, and at the end, they kicked a really good field goal. It was a fun game. And even as you
Right.
head into that last play, the build up, Fordham Prep called a timeout to try and ice the kicker beforehand. It was a high snap before the kick eventually happened, but when you saw it go through the uprights, the emotions were incredible, and you could see that Xavier team really wanted it, and they got the job done.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was talking to Josh after the game. If you guys viewers at home don't know, Josh was actually one of the commentators, the primary commentator of the game. If you tuned in on YouTube or whatever, that's his voice. And I was talking to him, and he said that's probably the best game that I'll see at my time at Xavier. Even after I leave Xavier, that might be the best game. Just so many takeaways from it. Yeah, Xavier kind of did take their foot off the gas. Um, I don't know if you remember Cuggy, but I think it was a second down catch by Captain Liam Averill, if I'm saying that correctly, where he caught it near the end zone, and that kind of initiated
That's right.
the final play. You know, what are your thoughts on Liam Averill throughout this game, his leadership in the football team throughout the whole season, basically?
I mean, I think a lot can be said, but it really didn't boil down to one player and specifically. You can really see that the Xavier team builds on chemistry with one another. They obviously run that single wing offense, which really relies on this entire squad coming together, making smart decisions, making smart plays. So I wouldn't say that it ultimately boiled down to one player. I think the Xavier
Yeah,
team it relies on being a disciplined football team. They are very sharp defensively. Obviously Dom DeFalco was the defensive coordinator before. He ultimately took over the head coaching duties here at Xavier. So a defensively minded squad, but also just a strong unit as they move the ball offensively. And as we saw at the end there, they really were able to turn it on. They executed to perfection when it mattered the most, and that's what good teams are able to do, right? You talk about some of the greatest football teams we've ever seen. When it matters, they do it, and that's what the
right,
Xavier team was able to
right,
do on Thursday.
right. Do you think that like Fordham was satisfied with this result? Because for those of us who can remember last year, Fordham suffered quite the blow. What was the score again, Cuggy? 28 to
28-0, they lost that
28 to
game.
nothing. An absolute blowout, dominant showing by Xavier. So Fordham, in large part, still has a lot of their players from last year. So do you think that they're satisfied with this result, or at least do you think that do you
I
think
think
that
the
they
answer is
went
pretty
home?
obvious.
Hold on. Do you think that they went home with their heads hanging down?
Yes, yes, I do. I don't think that they were satisfied with the effort. I think that they were glad that this wasn't a blowout the same way we saw last year. But you can't go home and say to yourself, well, hey, we only lost by a point. We'll get them next year. This Fordham team played a really hard fought game, and they could certainly be pleased with their effort, but I think they're heartbroken. I think inside they were not feeling to themselves, well, yeah, we played them a really close game. It was only a 1 point loss at the end of the day. And they're like, well, yeah, we'll get them next year. So that's not what happened. This
Right.
Fordham Prep team was heartbroken.
These guys are clearly competitive. They want
That's
nothing
right.
but victory. Um,
And as you said, for some of these seniors, it was their last game. They would like to go out on that winning note, in a sense.
right. So now Xavier have won consecutive Turkey Bowls, and the main thing to note is that in the last year there has been a shift um, between the role of Christopher Stevens and, of course, Mr. DeFalco. So, like, what do you think that means for the football team going forward, the program going forward? Do you think that we have a bright future? Like, what do you think that he brings to the
Absolutely.
table?
I think not a lot is going to change. Certainly at the beginning, we've seen in the first 2 years of Mr. Dom DeFalco leading this team. Again, Mr. DeFalco was the defensive coordinator, so he brings some of his own experience to the
Right,
defensive side of the ball. And he is continuing to implement Mr. Stevens' single wing offense, meaning that the quarterback is not directly lined up with the center. It's sort of a wildcat formation, meaning that they're going to be running the ball a lot. It's ground and pound football, to say the least. They are trying to earn every single yard that they in every single game, in every single situation. but there is certainly a bright future for this Xavier football team. Obviously, Mr. DeFalco was taken in by Mr. Stevens. The two of them worked together. A very successful team under Mr. Stevens, and I think Mr. DeFalco continues to lay the groundwork for what Mr. Stevens was doing. A very successful season, and obviously, you know, when you play for Xavier, the expectation is that you're going to come home, is you're going to come to the field, you're going to work hard, and you're going to go home feeling like you really are part of a strong team. You accomplished something at the field, and when you don't have as much field to practice on, I think you recognize that you need to change up your strategy, change up your game plan for whatever opponent you're facing. And I think that Mr. Stevens and Mr. DeFalco think the same way as far as that goes.
And Kagi, you've talked a lot with Mr. DeFalco personally, both before and following the game. Do you think that he has a really strong presence in
That
the
was
locker
Josh.
room? Sorry?
Well, I can't say for myself. Josh has been the one interviewing him, but I certainly think that he has a strong grip
Right.
over those guys in the locker room. I think they love playing for him. I think you can see it even in this one game. You saw how badly they wanted to win, how much this game meant to them, and how much this coaching staff, how much work and investment their parents have put into them and their coaches and all that. So yeah, I mean, I think Mr. Stevens and Mr. DeFalco both have had a strong locker room around them. From what you hear around the school, the guys are fired up to play for him, and that's all that kind of goes with that.
Okay. So, wrapping up this segment, what do you think this means? And can you kind of explain to the average viewer at home the significance of this tradition, why it's important that we hold this every year, especially as we are both Catholic schools, all boys schools? Like, what does this mean just to wrap everything up?
It means everything, I think, for both schools, and it's not just about the game of football. It's the tradition. It's the being able to play on Thanksgiving. It's being able to play in front of your family members. It's being able to go out there and show people what you've worked for in the last 4 years. Obviously, you only get to play in the Turkey Bowl once or two times. Usually, if you're a sophomore, sometimes making the varsity team three times. But it doesn't happen very often. It's a game you look forward to. It's a game you circle on the calendar in August, way at your first practice. So the tradition means everything, both from a faith aspect and from football. It's a wonderful tradition. I think both schools really admire it, and I look to continue to see
Yeah.
this rivalry and slash partnership in a sense because both teams really respect and admire each other and play that way, and they leave it all out there. So certainly one of the best traditions I think in New York for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I heard you talk about sophomores. Big shout out to our very own Ryan Lavin, class of 2028, who actually played in the Turkey Bowl. What an incredible feat to be out there with some of these guys that are like 220 pounds. I mean, just for him to be able to match up, just quick shout out to him. Um, but we'll be wrapping up our Turkey Bowl segment and moving on to the NFL because there was a lot of drama in the NFL. Cug, you said you went 0 for 4. Kind of walk us down each of your predictions for each of the fixtures, and what went wrong there.
I mean, I kind of predicted all the favorites in the game just to kind of be safe about things. The
Wow.
Lions lost. The Cowboys won. I predicted the Chiefs in that game. The Ravens got blown out in their home stadium against the Bengals on that Thursday night game, and then the next day the Bears were able to stifle the Eagles offensively. So just a bit of a. The one thing I'll say I was really surprised by was the Ravens getting blown out at home. You know, Joe Burrow coming off of that turf toe injury. So the Ravens I'd be very concerned about right now. Lamar
Yeah,
playing some of
right.
his worst games we've ever seen him play. Lamar Jackson, that is. And ultimately, this Bears team looks good. I think Ben Johnson has really has them fired up. An Eagles team that's super talented. You know, you got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, all over the field. You look at it, and there's talent for that Eagles team, but they're just not clicking right now. And the Bears were able to take advantage of that. And the Lions and Packers and Chiefs and Cowboys, two close games. I really could have seen them going either way. You know, as I said in my previous episode, it's not an easy pick to make. I think the Chiefs are not playing really well right now, and you have to be a little bit concerned about them and their ability to make the playoffs here down the stretch. But that Packers Lions game was sort of a toss up, and I ended up on the wrong side of it. So just some quick thoughts as far as that goes.
And I mean, again, no words for the New York Giants. Just speechless with
No
you.
words left.
No words at all.
Yeah. No.
But we were actually talking about this little comparison. between our very own Jackson Dart and Drake May. Like, what can you draw from that comparison? Do you think it's ridiculous? Do you think it's a ludicrous comparison between the number 3 and the number 25 pick? Or do you think that there's some sense in comparing them?
Not at all, Leo. I mean, for one thing, Drake May and Jackson Dart are coming in, as you said, in completely different situations. Jackson Dart was sort of a shot in the dark when the Giants drafted him. They took him 25th overall. They traded up for him, but they didn't really know what they were getting. Jackson Dart was maybe not expected to be a day one pick, even in certain cases. So, Jackson Dart. He's certainly ahead of his development. He looks good. He looks like in the future he could be even better than Drake May. But I think it's a little bit early to tell where both quarterbacks kind of stand as far as who's better and who's not. Drake May is playing at an MVP level this season. It's not to say that Jackson Dart can't be as good as Drake May or even better than Drake May, but right now Drake May I'd take over Jackson Dart
Any day of
at
the
the moment.
week. Any day of the week.
Yeah.
Um, so who would you say is the biggest winner of the Thanksgiving weekend? I mean, we had some big winners, but just point
Ooh,
out one in particular.
that's a tough one. I'll say that the Houston Texans or the New England Patriots are some of the big winners of this week. The
Patriots
Houston
moved to 11
Texans.
and 2, so
That's
big
right.
win for them.
And Houston certainly getting some big news. And I guess you could throw Jacksonville in there as well. But the Colts look like they are really starting to descend. I mean, Daniel Jones is dealing with a fibula injury, I believe, is what they're calling it right now. And obviously, his mobility is limited. And therefore, the Colts are going to be in some jeopardy if he can't get that injury sorted out. And ultimately, I think that they're going to start to fall off here a little bit. And that allows teams like Houston, who are playing really solid right now, you start to have some belief in their quarterback C.J. Stroud again, and Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I don't believe in as much, but I think the door has opened for them to be a threat to win that AFC South. And the Patriots are 11 and 2. There's not much else to be said there. They have, as you said or alluded to earlier, Leo, one of the best quarterbacks in football right now in Drake May, and I think they have a really solid 1-2-3 punch with Drake May, Stephon Diggs, and Travion Henderson, that running back there. And they have the coach, Mike Vrabel, brings a ton of experience, brings some playoff experience. Patriots are ready to go. We can see that. They're 11 and 2. They're fired up. They got a chance to beat the Bills next week, I believe, and just kind of wrap up that AFC East, and it's go time. They want to get into the playoffs. They want to get that first round bye, and they want to have a chance to go to the Super Bowl this year because that's what you got to call it at this point. This Patriots team is locked and loaded in the AFC, and they're ready to go.
Okay, and just kind of give us like a playoff implication update from last episode. Because last episode, who are we looking at as the favorite? The Rams? I mean, the Rams are
Yeah,
heavy
and the Rams had a
favorites.
shocking loss this week.
Right.
We kind of looked at the Rams
So are the
as a
tides kind
tough.
of changing now? Are the
It is. It's one of the
Patriots
more
pulling ahead?
interesting. I think the three of us, me, you, and Josh, all kind of talked about this on a previous episode. It's one of the most interesting NFL seasons we've ever had because there's no true top team right now. It's chaos. It's a ton of fun, to be honest with you. It's so awesome to not see the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens just have 15-1 records and be dominating their respective divisions. It's all sorts of fun. We got new teams. We got the Patriots. We got Denver. We got Jacksonville. Indianapolis was up there for a while. The Chargers are in the playoffs and in a playoff spot right now. And then on the east side of things, in the NFC, you got Chicago. Obviously, we talked about how good the Rams have been, but Chicago is really kind of that top surprising team. The Seahawks have been playing well. And, no Cowboys, I hope, in the playoffs this year, but some fun teams, certainly. And I think sort of a team that we're sleeping on a little bit, the team that actually beat the Los Angeles Rams last week, the Carolina Panthers, they improved to 7 and 6. I'm rooting for them to kind of squeak into the playoffs here and do some damage when it's ultimately all said and done. I don't believe in the Panthers as a playoff threat, but I think it's fun for them to get in, and I think it's fun for this NFL season overall that we have so much parity and chaos going on.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in an epoch of parity, so to speak, not just in the NFL but in the NBA, which we'll touch on very shortly. How do you think that this kind of parity, where it's really anyone's game, how do you think it affects the NFL? Do you think it's good for viewership? Do you think it's bad for
I think
viewership?
it's wonderful for viewership to not see the Chiefs and the Eagles and it would be the Packers for some time. But yeah, it's great for viewership. I think ultimately it makes these playoff matchups more fun. You won't get
Yeah.
those ordinary 2v7, 3v6. So as you kind of pointed to, Leo, viewership, well, I don't know how much it will change overall, but it's fun and you maybe get some outside viewers looking in at the NFL come playoff time. It's great. It's awfully exciting and can't wait to watch and kind of look and see where this goes.
Absolutely. I mean, some of the dynasties in the NFL actually coincided with the NBA, which we'll break into in a second, like the Warriors dynasty. And I think in part we can actually attribute parity to viewership decrease, especially in Super
Yeah.
Bowls and in NBA finals. But at the same time, there's kind of a trade off. Like the casual viewer might not be inclined to watch anymore, but it's the true fans that truly benefit from not seeing one team dominate for so long. And I think that's what's really important. Because at the end of the day, it's not
And
all
I
about
think you
the
make a
money.
great point there, Lev.
Yeah,
Yeah, you make a really strong point there. It's
absolutely.
a lot of fun for any NFL fan to not see, as I've said multiple times now, but the Chiefs and the Ravens and the Bills kind of be hogging the top of the AFC, so to speak. As it stands right now, the Chiefs and the Ravens, I don't believe either of them would be in a playoff spot. If the season ended today, we will have that checked for you. I will check it for you right now. But at the very least, the Chiefs are not in a playoff spot at
I
the
believe the
moment, so
Chiefs are
that's a lot
six
of
and
fun.
six.
That's right, and the Ravens are 6-6 as well.
Yeah. So I mean, you can never really count out the Chiefs. But
No, not till it's all said and done, but you have to be at least very concerned about it. And by the way, I am wrong. The Ravens are in fact in a playoff spot. They own the tiebreaker over the Steelers right now. They are 6-6, but I believe they own the head to head. So
all right.
yeah, yeah, it's an awful lot of fun, and I'm certainly concerned about the Chiefs. I certainly think their dynasty is over. And if it's a long road for them to get into the playoffs. Not because I don't think they're good enough, but I think there's too many teams here. It's a steep hill to climb, and Mahomes is lacking that true number one wide receiver. I think the Chiefs have a good defense, obviously a generational quarterback, but a tight end that's way out of his prime. No true number one running back, and they have a lot of okayish receivers, but they're missing a true top receiver for Mahomes to throw the ball to.
Great way to wrap up. Now, Kagi, you're gonna move over to be the questioner as we move on to the NBA. How's it going, Kagi? Let's talk about the NBA.
All right, Leo, I got a couple interesting ones for you here. Since the NBA has implemented the play-in system, it's sort of watered down the product of the teams that we see in the playoffs, and I think this year it's much of the same, particularly in the West here. I touched on this in the last podcast, but the bottom two teams, sorry, the two teams that are the 9 and 10 seeds slotted in are the Memphis Grizzlies at 9 and 12 and the Portland Trailblazers 8 and 12. Can you kind of speak to how much do you think this play-in tournament has affected the league and the product of the playoffs when they come around overall?
Well, overall, like let's be honest, I think it's a way to give redemption to teams. Uh, but I just don't think it's good. I mean, if you haven't shown quality during the regular season, why should you be
Yeah,
given an opportunity as like the ninth or 10th seed to go into the playoffs? I mean, certainly we've had upsets in championships. I mean, we're not denying that. I think in
right.
1995, just to give an example, the Houston Rockets won the championship, sweeping Shaquille O'Neal's Magic in the finals. They were the sixth seed, which is
Yeah,
incredible.
it's quite a bit different though than I don't know a team like the 10 seeded Heat getting to play
I mean, it
whatever. I
could.
don't know how many games.
Well, here's a good point, though. We're at a point where, I mean, we can even look at the rankings right now, where, especially in the East, the middle teams are like very close. So you look at the Hawks and the Cavs, like the Magic, and let's say the 76ers or Celtics are just a couple wins away. And we have a really good sample size. We're 21 games into the season, 20 games into the season. Um so we're at a point where the middle of the table can be so tight that a couple wins brings you into that playoff spot. So I'm at a conflict myself where some teams might really get unlucky and they deserve to do it. And like the Pacers, they weren't really ranked too highly last season. Yeah, they were fourth and they made it to the finals. Literally nobody expected them to make it, but that's the beauty of the game, that
Right.
we can really have upsets in times where it's least expected. So I'm still mixed on that idea, on that, the play-in thing.
And your thoughts on the NBA in season tournament? They've sort of had some mixed reviews as far as that goes. The one thing I'll say is, why do the games count towards the overall team's record at the end of the season? I think that the NBA Cup should be separate from the NBA regular season. I think if you're trying to do what some of the European soccer does, where it's you have your regular season, you have your
Yeah.
the Premier League, the Liga, all those things. But the tournament itself, Champions League, is separate from the season. I don't think it should be playing towards your regular season standings. So your thoughts on that, Leo?
Well, there's a couple of things. Obviously, there's controversies about the NBA Cup because of like the super vibrant colors on the jerseys or on the courts. Like I can't remember the team, but one of the courts is like a bright green, which is
Yeah,
super
the courts are crazy. I mean, that's
Um,
just some of
as to it
these.
contributing to the overall record, I just really don't see a way around it. I mean, it's a long season already, 82 games. Teams are playing
Well, that's
40.
where shortening the season potentially comes in. I think 82 games, and the
Now,
same could be said for the NHL. I think that's too
the
long. I'm
market
being
is
honest with
too
you. I think
big. You
82
have
is
to
too long.
keep fans entertained over a long period of time. And in addition to that, you compared it to soccer. Really not a comparison you can make at the end of the day because in, for example, the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, all of these European tournaments, they're competing against teams which they don't compete against normally. Whereas the NBA, it's the same teams, they're making the same flights. Like I just really don't see why it's bad. But obviously, no one considers the actual cup itself to be significant. Like who won it last year? The Bucks. No one cares about the Bucks.
Something like that.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Lakers won it the year before. I mean, nobody remembers
nobody
these
remembers
titles. It's
anything. So
yeah.
like who cares if it brings revenue up? Keep it. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, interesting there for sure. Leo, some top teams you look at right now. A couple, just give me one team that's sort of rising in your rankings, obviously, and then a team that's disappointed you.
Disappointed me, like in the past week specifically.
Past week and overall this
I'll
season.
go okay. I'll go Pistons for both. Pistons are currently
This
first in the East,
they've
but in the past week they went from beating the franchise record, I believe, winning 13 in a row, to losing two in a row.
that's
That's
I'm gonna stop you there. They're 17-4, and they're the
right.
one
Right.
seed
Hold on.
in the Eastern Conference.
Hold on. They lost.
If you're a Pistons fan at the beginning of the year, you wouldn't sign up for 17-4.
That's why I said the whole season
Yeah.
they like uh they're above my expectations, but in the last week they have a losing record, which by definition is a disappointment. And then I'm sorry, man, you have to say Denver. I mean, Denver is just absolutely shocking. I don't know if you're keeping up with this, Cuggy, but they've lost now 4 home games in a row. 4.
Hmm.
So Denver, everyone has to keep them in contention on that Western Conference, and I think that they've got some of the best role players in the league. Obviously, they have their star Jokic, but I
An
think,
MVP candidate. I mean,
yeah, I think Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Tim Hardaway, they've all exceeded expectations heavily. Um, but still, they can't keep it together. I mean, if you want to talk about Jokic for a second, last night he had an absurd 2K stat line, 29, 20, and 13, 2 steals or 2 blocks. I mean, and they still lost to a
yeah.
Mavericks team which has a losing record. So they're my principal disappointment. I should have said them first.
Leo, I have sort of a two-part question for you here, both concerning the Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that's currently 20-1. My first question is, can anybody stop them? Is there a single team in the NBA right now that you think can take this Thunder team in a 7-game series?
No, no team can
No.
take them
I,
past 5 games, if I'm being completely 6 if we're generous, 6 is the max. I can see I mean, in the finals, they're just gonna crush anyone. Cause I don't know, okay, I've heard some insane statistics about the OKC. According to defensive ratings, the OKC have 5 of the top 15 defenders in the league.
Yeah, and they just got
5
Jalen
of wait,
Williams
hold
back.
on. That is absurd. Of the top 15 defenders in the
Yes.
league, they have a third of them. Like,
Yes.
anywhere from perimeter defense with Alex Caruso to their double big structure with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. Like, they're just a defensive menace.
Yes.
I don't want to exaggerate here, but potentially the greatest defensive team we have ever seen. And they're
And they've
20 and
just
1. Go on.
and they've just gotten Williams back. So
Yeah, they
they
just
were
got
doing all
J-Dub
this without.
back. They were
They
17
were
and
doing all
1.
this without Jalen Williams, and now they have him. So it's really. And my second part of this question for you, Leo, is obviously who can stop them, but how many wins do they finish with?
It's actually going to continue with
70,
that. 82 games in the regular season. They're 20 and 1. The Warriors in their record-breaking
73 they
season.
won, right?
Well, actually, there have been 5 teams to be 20 and 1 in NBA history. There might be 4.
Yeah. So they haven't.
So it
It
was the
isn't record breaking yet.
2002 Mavericks, um, these Thunder, the Warriors, and the 96 Bulls. If the Thunder win the next 5 in a row, they're gonna beat the Warriors record of 24. The Warriors went 24 in a row to start the season in
Yeah.
2016. I think they're gonna do better than that. I mean, I
I think they can do it. Yeah, I really
yeah.
think.
I mean, I think that
I think the only thing stopping this, I said this in a previous episode. The only thing stopping this OKC team from winning, I don't know, anywhere from 70 to 75 games is if they kind of take their foot off the gas towards the end. They're kind of gearing up for the playoffs here and making sure that they're healthy and ready to go. Or if they lose anybody to an injury. Those are the only two scenarios. If this OKC team is fully healthy and they are committed to playing 48 minutes of basketball a night, they are going to just steamroll the rest of the competition in the NBA.
if they take their foot off the gas, they're still gonna win games. I mean, they have 9 or 10 players that could fit into a lower level NBA team. They have like 2 starting rosters, starting lineups, which is absurd to say. I say they finish. I mean, obviously they're going to slow down. Everyone slows down at the end of the season. At this pace, they're losing what 4 games. They're going to go 78 and 4.
And four,
I say
yeah.
they go. I say they beat the record by 1, 74
Wow.
and 8.
They do just enough to beat the record, and then they take their foot
Yeah.
off the proverbial gas pedal.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors beat the Bulls record by 1. It was 72. Then they on the very last day, they beat it. I expect the same to happen. So,
Kind of shifting conferences here. Obviously, we've talked about the Pistons, 17 and 4. After the Detroit Pistons, who's sort of a team that you look to see as maybe the second best team in the West, and maybe even better than the Pistons.
he's just so weak, man. I mean, I
Yes.
can't even lie. Like,
The East is very weak. It's a tricky question because the East is truly a much weaker conference than the
yeah,
West,
like
and
the
you don't.
West is just so much better than the East. I think that other than the Pistons, there's like 4 or 5 teams in the West that could be number 1
Yes,
in the
the
East.
number one team in the East. Yes.
Like, I mean, Knicks, obviously not just because of the standings, but because of their offensive firepower. They have 2 of the
But they can't defend, and that's going to matter come playoff time. We last year in the conference finals against the Pacers, the reason that they probably didn't win 2 of those games is simply because of defending.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, but, like, I mean, you look through these teams, man, I've watched these guys consistently, and I can say for a fact that they're just not up to par. I mean, there's a
No,
few fun teams to watch, for sure. I mean, what Concanipel is doing on the Hornets, he's currently the rookie of the year.
Hornets are 6 and 14. So
Well, yeah,
you know,
I mean, I'm at this point the East is so bad, I'm just naming fun teams to watch, not
Yeah,
even teams that can compete. The Heat can't compete, the Raptors can't compete. There's absolutely no reason, to believe that these teams could make any kind of
yeah,
playoff
and
run. Um, to be honest, though, I have been liking a few of these, like, role players, so I just wanna kind of highlight, um, them for a second. So number 1 is Brandon Ingram. I mean, I think that he's been absolutely spectacular. I can pull the stats up right now, but he's a consistent 25 points per game score. And then if you shift over to the Rockets, you have Şengün, and I think Şengün at this point, he could be better than KD. I mean, he could not be, but he's a guy that can just meet you in the post, and he's like a mini Jokic. So I wanted to bring him up. And then finally, let's talk about Zach Edey for a second. Zach Edey, 7'4" center on the.
you talked about this in school. I think you talked about how he had
Yeah,
a
no,
real
because
good game
I'm
the other
really
night.
enthusiastic about him, to be honest, because he's a 7'4" center. I think he was drafted 2 seasons. Was he last season
Yeah,
or
that
two
sounds right.
seasons? I think he
I
came
think two
after
seasons.
Ricochet.
He's been in the league multiple years for sure.
Look that up, right? I can't remember if it was 2 years ago. Um,
Uh, let's see. He was drafted in 2024, that 2024 season.
yeah, I mean, um, yeah. So at the end of the day, Zach Edey, what was his stat line? It was like 31, 10 plus rebounds,
He
and five
what is
blocks.
it?
That I mean, he had five blocks,
32 points, 17 rebounds. He logged 29 minutes.
17 rebounds. Yeah.
Yep,
So
and
it's
he had 5 blocks, as you said.
it's a
Yeah,
super efficient game, and I'm really liking how the guards in the Grizzlies are consistently feeding him in the post. So instead of just chucking up 43s a game like every NBA team thinks they can do, they think that they're the Splash Brothers. They're literally just feeding their giant in the post, and he's getting consistent buckets. And I think moving forward, he can um, really be like a really good center, really consistent. Nothing like playoff worthy, or for that matter, all star worthy, but certainly it's just something to note. Just because I think he's been one of the best
yeah.
performances of the week.
And kind of wrapping up here, I think, as we said, the old adage is, if you're gonna be bad, at least be fun. So that's what we're seeing some of in the Eastern Conference, and that kind of brings a close to our NBA segment. Moving on, talking quickly and briefly about the NHL. Last week, on the solo episode of the podcast, I gave a statistic. I put a statistic out there. It's been very popular actually within the hockey world since 2005 and 2006. 77% of the teams that are in the playoff picture at the American Thanksgiving, they end up going on to make the playoffs. So I kind of looked at the playoff picture. I briefly broke it down and I said, all right, well, which teams are going to be part of that 77% and which teams are going to be the 23% that's ultimately not in the playoffs when it was all said and done. And, a week has passed. And as you know, Leo, you know this from the NBA, a lot can change in a week. So just kind of briefly sort of look into the NHL playoff picture and recap where things stand as of right now today, which is Tuesday, December 2nd.
Why don't you go first, Kagi? I haven't quite looked at the picture yet.
Sure. I mean, the team that I've really seen completely rise since last week, and I talked about them, and I said in previous episodes how I think that they were going to be okay when it was all said and done. The Tampa Bay Lightning currently sit at 16, 17, and 2, and that's good enough for first in the Atlantic Division. Right now, they, to me, look like the best team in the Eastern Conference, no doubt in my mind. Now, they're a bit top heavy, which means that they have a lot of stars, but when it comes to the depth, I have a little bit of question marks with them. Guys like Kucherov, Gensel, get the job done for you. Obviously, Braden Point. We talk about Hagel. Really four really very good forwards for this Lightning team. And they are killing their opponents right now. I think in their last 7 games, they've outscored their opponents 30-10. So they're a very good defensive team, and they obviously know how to score from the offensive standpoint. So Tampa Bay kind of looks like my top team that's suddenly been jolted into that surprise contender category for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I completely agree. What are your thoughts on the Bruins right now?
I'm not a big believer in the Boston Bruins as far as their roster goes. I think they have a little bit of voodoo magic going on, if you will, right now. They're winning games, but they're low scoring. They're boring. They're defensively. They win games because of their defense, not because they have a very good
Kind
forward
of
group.
like
So
park the
overall,
bus mentality.
yeah, yeah. I'm not too high on the Boston Bruins. I think that they'll hang around the playoff picture, but if you ask me to put them in a playoff spot right now, I would actually say that they have dropped out of that picture for me. I do not have them in the playoffs come April.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to argue against the Avalanche. Obviously,
They are
not. I mean,
maybe not. Yeah,
18-4, 18-1. But if you look at the goals for, I mean, they're just scoring at a much higher rate than any other
they are. They are, and not
team.
just that, Leo. They are a really good defensive
And
team.
they're
Obviously,
conceding,
you
yeah,
can.
they're conceding less,
Yeah,
like, they're conceding, what, 55
yeah.
goals this season, with a differential of 48 in the last
That's
20.
insane for 20. How many games have they played? What, 26, I think, 25, maybe something like that. That's just an insane marker for only 25 games into the season. I mean, right now, we talked about this with the Thunder, but similarly in the NHL, I'm not sure if there's a team right now that I could see beating the Avalanche. They are a wagon. They are loaded with talent on the front end, and obviously they have the best defender in all the sport in Cale Makar. They have two really good goalies in Mackenzie Blackwood and Scott Wedgwood. So they're certainly a very good team. It'll be fun to see who at the end of the year can kind of take them down. Maybe not take them down at all, but right now the Avs are just rolling.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Kagi, any standout players, particularly from these top teams or from either conference, like, point out any top players, from the East and the West, maybe point out
Yeah, absolutely,
different
Leo.
divisions,
I'll start.
how they compare, uh, what's going on in the power rankings.
I mean, the Avs are right at the top, and why don't I go with sort of a top three player in the sport in Nathan McKinnon? I believe he leads the league in goals right now. Certainly, he's up there in points as he is every year. Nathan McKinnon is always a standout guy. He'll be headlining the Canadian team at the Olympics. I love Nathan McKinnon. You love his game. He could certainly flip a switch whenever he needs to and really turn it on and really accelerate his game when it matters the most. And I think if you're looking at sort of a power ranking standpoint, I have the Avs at number one, and then I have a team like the Lightning at number two, and then kind of it moves into a bit of a mishmash here. You can kind of look at Carolina as a very good team, Anaheim's a very good team. It's an interesting year, Leo, and similar to the NFL, we're dealing with the same idea of there's some parity. There's a little bit of unknownness right now. The back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers, would be outside of a playoff spot right now if the season was to end. You look for them to kind of pick it up a little bit. But the East is so tight right now. The points separating whatever it is, like third and 16th in the conference, it's a slim margin. So teams that have had a slow start to the year have a chance to kind of pick things up a little bit here as we head into the that midway mark of this NHL season. It's a lot of fun as a fan, but it's also a little bit nerve wracking because you don't know. You lose two games in a row and you suddenly find yourself jolted into 15th in the Eastern Conference or Western Conference or whatever the case may be.
Just isn't a good look. And just to kind of wrap up this segment, who do you have winning the MVP?
Um, It's tough, but I'll go McKinnon right now. McKinnon is on the best team, and right now he seems to have the most value. Let me just quickly kind of
You
look
have
at
him
his stats. I'm
going.
not.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is tied for first with 20 goals, and he has 24 assists, and he has 44 points. That is good enough for first in the NHL as far as points go. And he's a plus 30 when he's on the ice, which means that when he is on the ice, they are outscoring the opposition by 30 goals. So McKinnon right now, he provides the most value to the team. He's my MVP slash heart pick if the season was to end today.
Like the Nikola Jokic of the NHL, and
Yes.
the Nuggets have a 20-point
That
differential.
Denver that Denver connection there, Leia. You got Colorado and Denver.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost it almost makes one religious in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
they both have insane point differentials on and off the floor. But now we're gonna wrap up that segment and move into our final segment of the day.
Which we touched on at the intro
Yeah.
portion of this podcast. The World Cup draw is coming up this Friday, December 5th. A lot of excitement surrounding that. Certainly, you look to see where this U.S. men's national team. What teams they will get placed into the group of them? Will they have the group of death, if you will? Will they get an easy group? We'll kind of look into that a little bit. But a quick little breakdown of how this is all going to work. Now, you're going to have to listen close because this is very, very complex. I did a lot of research into this myself, into how the overall pot system works. From the last World Cup into this World Cup, we obviously have a huge increase in teams. In Qatar in 2022, we only had 32 teams going over there to partake in that World Cup, or that particular edition of the World Cup, I should say. But in this World Cup that's hosted between Mexico, United States, and Canada, it's a joint bid. There will be 48 teams, which, as you know, Leo, can certainly be very exciting. It'll be a lot of fun. But it means that it's a completely different system from what we've seen in the past. So the 48 teams, which have not even all been determined yet, we still have 6 playoff spots to be given out to some teams that are still going to be fighting for it, countries, I should say. They'll be divided into 4 pots of 12. The host nations, which are Mexico, the United States, and Canada, will be placed into the top pot along with the best 9 teams in the current FIFA rankings. So if you were to look at the worldwide FIFA rankings, you would find the top 9 teams placed in, along with the 3 joint nations. And then you kind of follow it up with the 12 next best teams in pot two, the 12 next best teams in pot three, and then you have your bottom 6 teams that are in pot four, plus the UEFA playoff spots, and then finally those 2 FIFA spots, which are sort of a interconfederation playoff, so to speak. So exciting! That draw is happening between 11 and 4 o'clock Eastern time this Friday. I will certainly be keeping my eye on it. I'm sure you will be as well, Leo. We'll keep in touch as far as
Absolutely.
that goes. But
Almost want to
very
skip
very
school for
exciting
it.
stuff. Yeah,
Uh,
I hope you don't. But yeah, it'll be very very exciting to look at and to see where this US team ends up. Canada, Mexico, all that to be said. So Leo, kind of handing this over to you here. What team are you most concerned about going into next summer that's already qualified?
Most concerned about as a threat for the US?
No, as in a team that you don't see as very threatening. Actually, the opposite. A team that we've had placed some expectations on in the past, but right now you don't see them as a big World Cup contender, so to speak.
Okay. So one team that I want to point out in specific would be this Dutch team. So the Dutch
Hmm.
team, they've always been, in that comfortable top, 6 to 8 team. Everyone's always seen them as a side that can make a really deep run, which is absolutely true. I mean, they're absolutely star-studded with the likes of Cody Gakpo, Virgil van
Like,
Dijk. They're a star-studded team, and the thing is
Memphis
that they are
Depay, yeah.
incredibly defensively minded. So if you just look at some of these defenders, they're a lot of them are by some coincidence on Liverpool, but I mean Denzel Dumfries, Jeremy Frimpong, Jurrien Timber. I just don't think that the Dutch are offensive minded enough. If you want to look at the US in comparison, in the last World Cup the Netherlands won 3-1 against the US. Memphis Depay scored in that
Two
one.
goals.
And Depay is another thing. He's quickly losing form. He's aging. He's been their star for the last 10 years and they're kind of losing that leadership. I don't think Van Dijk has been as good at the international stage. So I just don't really see, and I think that they're the best defensive team. I don't see any reason to fear them. That's my answer.
Leia, what do you think about Brazil right now? An interesting team for sure to kind of to gauge and to see where they stand. They haven't had a great year. Really, since that last World Cup where they lost in penalties to Croatia 5-3, they haven't been the same team at all. You'd have to agree there, Leo.
Again, no expectations. Like what are they? Are they pot? What pot are they? If you
I'm sure they're pot one. I haven't looked
Yeah,
directly, but I'm
if
sure.
they're pot one, they're going to be in a difficult group. I think we're at a point where they might not even make it out of the group stage.
Wow.
I mean, let's
Wow.
be completely honest. Brazil just have been nothing but underwhelming. It's like all the historical winners, Brazil, Italy, Germany, they combined for, let me do some quick math, 13 World Cups. They're all underperforming heavily. Um,
Italy may not even make it
Italy may
again for
not
the
even make
third
it, but
World
let's
Cup in a
talk
row.
about Brazil. Um, specifically. Rafinha has never really performed on the international stage. Neither has Vinny. Richarlison has historically been good for the national team, which is um, quite interesting. But I just don't really see much confidence, much chemistry. They've lost the last
What do you
couple.
think about the Wonder Kid, Endrick, or however you say it?
Hendrick, really no thoughts. Good for his age, I guess. But we've seen so many young stars, Max Dowman on Arsenal, the likes of them, including Esteval, who's also on Chelsea, will be with Brazil for this World Cup. Really, that does not matter. I mean, I don't even think Lamine Yamal is going to make that much of an impact. I mean, he could, but at the end of the day, it's all about how how your team connects. And Brazil is full of stars; they just can't connect.
Points there, like, although I have to disagree with you. I think Brazil will be a solid team in next year. But next
I
year's World Cup,
completely disagree. I think that there's no argument to be made. I mean,
really. I
they've
mean, I
lost the
think that
last 3 Copa Americas. The last when was the
I
last
mean,
time
they
they
certainly
won?
underperformed at the Copa America, but when the lights get a little bit brighter, I think this Brazil team will show up a little bit. I think they will not be grouped. I think you kind of look at this team as a team that'll make it to the. Uh, I don't know what they don't call it. I guess they can call it the round of 16. The knockout portion, they'll get past that round of 32. I think they'll be sort of a team that you see get out in the quarterfinal or round of 16.
Yeah, I see them out in the round of 32, to be honest, and it won't be much of an upset.
Interesting for sure. Any other teams you want to kind of touch on, Leo? Maybe give that U.S. men's national team a quick little check in. Certainly, the expectations are high for this U.S. team, considering they'll be hosting and considering the fact that they're a pot one team, which means that the competition around them will not be the best they can get is the likes of Japan or Switzerland or somebody like that. So I think the U.S. team certainly has some expectation. If they were to knock it out of the group stage, I think you have to make the argument that Mauricio Pochettino would be sacked immediately following that World Cup.
I mean, Pochettino really has no reason uh, to care much about the managerial role. He's a wildly successful manager in and of himself. Brought the Spurs to the Champions League final in 2019. He's succeeded across all cylinders. So I don't think that this is a role which he really cares about. I don't really
I
think
don't
he
think
has
that's
much
true.
influence over the locker room. I mean, the U.S. Let's be honest, they're star-studded. I mean, we've seen the likes of Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic. They've dom-
Pulisic is immensely
they
talented, but it's just
they've dominated in Serie A, um, but I just don't think that they're good enough because these are big names for our home soil, but in the scope.
I'm certainly excited to see this U.S. team, and I'm
I'm
sure that
not. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not. Uh, I just don't think that they can do much. To be honest,
I think that the home crowd is going to play a factor, Leo. I have to slightly disagree with you there. Maybe there isn't much expectation that they will do much beyond getting past that group stage, but I think that they're going to be feeding off of that Los Angeles crowd and the Seattle crowd, and they're going to be fueled by that. And I think that once the World Cup comes around, I think sort of the expectation is that this U.S. team will perform a little bit more, and I
I
think they
mean,
will try to play up to that
just to
expectation.
be clear, hosting the World Cup doesn't really mean that you're gonna
No,
do
I know
much.
that. I
Because
know that. But I
Qatar
mean,
hosted the last World Cup, they were the
yeah,
worst
but
host
Qatar
ever.
and the U.S. men's national team are quite a bit different.
I guess. I mean, they play. I mean, Qatar got obliterated
Qatar were a
first game against
very young and
Ecuador. Um,
Qatar were a young and unexperienced team at that last World Cup.
yeah, but they lost the first game against Ecuador. Not necessarily a great team
Yeah, but I
themselves.
think the U.S. is if the U.S. wants to be considered a serious team, they're going to beat a team like Ecuador, for example.
I
I think that kind of wraps up our
Well, why
soccer
don't we talk
segment, and
about contenders, players in particular? Who are your
I mean,
contenders?
contenders.
Oh, you.
Obviously, I have to point out the top teams here. Argentina and France are my two teams I'm looking at. Argentina studded with stars all over the lineup. We have Julian Alvarez coming in, kind of fill in Messi's shoes a little bit. But it's also one last dance for Messi and one last chance for him to really show why I think he is the greatest of all time. And I'm sure you can agree there, Leo.
Yeah.
And France, also a team looking to prove themselves. Obviously, Kylian Mbappe leading that squad, and you have the likes of Dembele. So two teams that I look at as obvious contenders. Spain should be right along with them. You talk about Lamine Yamal, uh, blanking here, Nico Williams, obviously. So a talented squad here, and Morata. You got a lot of interesting cases here with this the Spain national team.
I have no reason to believe why France should succeed. I mean, they're going to be up there every time the World Cup rolls around. I just think that defensively, they just haven't really been able to get it together. We saw it in the Nations League last year, where in the semis they suddenly went down 5-1 to Spain. Um, they got three back, and they lost by only a tight margin. But I just think that even though they've got Kunde and even though they've got Kanate in that back line, I just don't think it necessarily means anything. And I think Spain, I mean Argentina, uh, you can attribute chemistry to them, but at the end of the day, Spain have a combination of both talent and chemistry. Um, if you want to talk about
But
the
you can't count on Argentina. You just simply can't count
yeah,
on Argentina at all.
if you want to talk about Spain's midfield, Zubamendi, Dani Olmo, Pedri, um,
Yes.
Fermin, even Lamine dropping into that 10 position, they've got so many stars and so much
And
chemistry.
up front, they're very, very talented as well.
Yeah,
So
I mean, they're absolutely lethal up front. Nico Williams kind of going into that winger role. Um, I don't want to talk too much about Murata, uh, just because he missed that still haunts me to this day. That penalty against Portugal, who we haven't mentioned. But Spain are my favorites, followed
I've
by
kind of been avoiding Portugal actually because they were very. I don't really like talking about Portugal and the Ronaldo and that kind of whole different
although they have
conversation.
promise to be.
Yeah,
They have like perhaps the
they do, they do, but they've certainly struggled,
on
and I
paper
think
they
it's
have
going
the
to be.
best midfield in the entire tournament.
They do.
Um, they have Vitinha,
Neves and
Bruno Fernandez, Bernardo
Neves,
Silva.
Leao, obviously Ronaldo, but I'm not sure how much of a role he'll play at 41
He
years
should
old.
be
I'm not sure how he
benched.
fits.
He should be benched, and there's no
Yes, he
doubt
should.
about it. But yeah,
He
let's
might
wrap that
even.
up.
I mean, it's a little bit questionable that he's even going to be there next summer. I gotta be honest with you. I'm not big about Ronaldo fitting into this Portugal team at 41 years old, but we'll see. It's exciting to see
I
him
mean,
and Messi
wait,
give
hold
it a
on.
match.
We literally saw them lose against Armenia. I mean, they won against Armenia
They lost to
9-1
my home country, Ireland, 2-0. So they
when he was
certainly are
on, and
susceptible.
then against Armenia when he was out, they won 9-1. So just to put that
I
out
mean,
there.
Armenia is a little bit different though than Ireland and that whole thing. Armenia is not a team that's expected to compete with Portugal. Anyway, I think that kind of concludes our all of our segments today. This was a fun episode. Fun to hop on and finally get a co-host back and Leia Leggett. Hopefully, we have Josh on next week. Should be good to have the trio back together, if you
Yeah, the
will, and
trio.
the three amigos.
Yeah,
Um, a great episode, a lot of fun. Again, just kind of a wrap up here. Subscribe to the Xavier YouTube channel. You'll find updates about us around the school. If you ever want to join the podcast talking sports, I think you'll have an awful lot of fun with me and Leo here on the show. That's about it. You can find us around the school. You can find our posters. Join the Google Classroom, and we hope to see you guys next time. Go Knights! Signing off, Luca Gear, follow and Leo Leggett. Have a good night, everybody.
yeah.